David finds a good thing. Simone and Bryson, they heat up. And Tia has parking lot turn up. Let's do it. Let's talk about it. This is Boomerang. Come on back with us.
You're tuned in to AfterBuzz TV, the ESPN of TV talk. Now, let the buzz begin.
What's up, everybody? How we doing?
What's going on?
What's going on to you guys out in the internet atmosphere or sphere out there, whether you're listening to us by podcast or online? Welcome again. We are talking Boomerang, Season 1, Episode 5, The Let Out.
Dang, already episode 5?
I know.
Right.
That's what I'm talking about. And it was a good one tonight. I was entertained, tonight.
Mm-hmm.
I was definitely entertained. So we got a lot to talk about. And before I get started, I know some of you out there, you'll notice we have a guest host in today.
Yes.
Chef Beans coming through.
That's right. Chef Beans is
Yes.
here.
That's what I'm talking about. So, in fact, I'll let them officially introduce themselves.
Oh, yes. So I am Chef Beans, and this is...
Hey guys, I'm Missy Vernier.
And I'm your host and moderator, Tanir Williams. So, we got a good one to talk about tonight on, we're the Boomerang, technically last night, but, you guys joining us tonight, our after show is tonight going on right now. So before we get in, actually, we got things we got coming up. After breaking down some of our thoughts, we got our special segments. We're going to have a little speak on it, if you guys remember from last week. So definitely look forward to that a little later. But before we get into everything, overall thoughts. What did you think of the episode?
This episode was cool. I really enjoyed it, especially the scene that happened at the end. I know we're not there yet, but that gave me a lot of hope, being that I am Team Bryson.
There you go.
Team Bryson. I feel like this episode was missing something, but I also feel like the episode kind of started the relationship between Bryson and Simone more than the platonic friendship they had. So now we see little heating up, smoky,
Yes, sir.
hot in here.
Yes.
Even though it was just one little kiss, I feel like it could lead into something.
Oh, I think it definitely.
A bit more.
I think it definitely.
That kiss led on.
Yes,
they wanted more.
That was the spark that, like you said, I think is going to really kick things into high gear.
Definitely. And I kind of want to see what plays on with everybody around them, all their friends, how are they going to react?
No, that'll definitely be a very interesting, like you say, thing to watch, because for the longest you could kind of feel that tension, between them. Everybody's all dancing around it or giving looks or hey, we're And this time it was just actually like, hey, Bryson was like, I'm moving in.
Yeah, he's very aggressive with that. So
Yeah.
He got that dancing.
Right.
When he got the dance, I was like, oh.
I was like, you go,
yes.
Bryson, a little.
And she turned around on him.
Right.
That's when you know.
That's when you knew it was.
Yeah.
Oh, it's going down.
Yeah.
For sure.
She gave him that look, and I was like, oh yeah.
Yes, indeed. Well, we'll definitely circle back to more of Bryson and Simone, because, like you said, that's definitely going to be a hot topic. But I want to start off. We see in this episode, David gets a lot of play today. It seems like in each episode, certain characters just really get the spotlight or their storyline. So we hadn't seen David in a couple episodes, or if we had, it was really briefly.
Right.
So he gets his shine tonight, and we kind of see him. We really get a chance to see his personality and how he is, and we already knew, very religious guy, but kind of his interaction with, Bryson, just around, the other people. And you can kind of see his, I don't know, I guess maybe like a little bit of conflict he has in terms of being like the pastor, but then also trying to maybe fit in. And
yeah, definitely. It's a little awkward.
With the crew, and we were discussing it just as guys, Chef and I, and during some of the scenes, So David, it seemed like most of the episode, or no, when they were in the parking lot during, when after people had come out, I mean, girls were coming up like, hey, like, you dress nice, like this and this, like kind of things that guys would be like, oh my God, like she's coming out, she's throwing game at me, like this is my chance. And it's like David was almost pushing it away, like,
He deflected a lot of different things, especially at the beginning when they asked if they were brothers. He's like, yeah, brothers in Christ.
Right.
And it seemed like every type of flirting that was happening with him, he was staying firm in who he was.
Right.
but it could come off as just
which is okay.
Of course.
Yeah.
It's okay, but I think you got to understand the environment that you're in. He clearly knew what he was walking into.
Yeah, definitely.
You know what I mean? At that age, it's not like that. I don't believe that was the first club that he's ever been to.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's why Bryson was looking at him like, get away from me. Like, what's wrong with, like, why did I invite you here?
I don't think he was saying get away from me, but just how his response to to the ladies were. Like he was just like, oh, like what did he say? I'm like a son of Christ or something.
Like brothers in Christ or
brothers
something
in
like
Christ,
that.
yeah. So like that was a little like aggressive, like kind of aggressive, not really, but just.
And it's one of
his
those things like I think being that Bryson, they're friends. It's kind of like he wasn't saying. You kind of felt like he was like, dang man, like you don't have to change you, but maybe tone it down a little bit. Like this is not like you don't have to be full on church out here at the club, type thing. So that was it was just funny because like you said, those looks. And I don't know, maybe if you've had friends, maybe it wasn't like a full. They weren't fully like a religious experience, but maybe they were real. The goody two, or you're just like, oh, here they go again,
right. And it kind of deterred the ladies from talking to them because they kind of just like walked away.
And you do wonder, you're like, why did we bring you to this whatever fun,
But you also got to factor in that Bryson was very edgy because remember, he wants to show Simone that he's into her, but he's trying to show her I can still have my own independent thoughts. So with that, he kind of I feel like he wants her to see him talking to other girls too. So with David deflecting everything, it's like you're messing up what I'm trying to portray to Simone. That's what I took from it.
Wow.
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
Wow. That's a good way of looking at it.
Yeah, because he wants to come off like to Simone like, oh, I'm cool, calm, collective type of guy. I got it all together, but also like not too flashy, like what I'm saying, and just wants to be like kind of like one of like not one of the homies, but just wants as like he just wants to portray as that basically.
Right.
Yeah.
And so he comes across, one particular girl who he starts to conversate with, and who isn't really. I mean, she kind of looks at him like, oh, okay, maybe you're like, you're a little different, but she's, I think, kind of into that, a little bit. So they kind of sit down, have a conversation. It was just even funny, like when I was just shaking my head, like, oh, David, when he was helped her to the lift, got her in the lift, and she said, oh, we just put the address in, maybe I'll make it to, to church. And he was like, look at God. I was like.
But that actually worked, though. I know. Like, I mean, because she was.
I was going to say that it felt like that, but I think she was kind of like it was almost maybe a little endearing to her, like, oh my gosh, like okay, this guy, So yeah, that was you kind of saw, especially knowing the background, or at least what we've seen in previous episodes, where there's obviously been a little something between him and him and Crystal were married. Got the divorce, so maybe. You don't know maybe if David's kind of really just fallen into religion, like I'm not worried about, maybe my relationship with God is everything, so I'm not even, looking. So maybe this was the first girl that he was just like, oh, like, okay.
I mean, but that typically happens when people get out of relationships. They're trying to figure out who they are in the absence of this other person. So that could be when David just really wanted to focus all the attention onto him. You know what I mean? And just like his growth. And that's why I don't think he's playing around with Crystal. Like he's just like, I'm going to focus on me, and whatever comes with that, I'll take it.
Right. But I kind of disagree. Well, I kind of agree, but like also disagree, because in previous episodes, he was trying to talk to Crystal and trying to like ask her questions, and she was like, no, I'm not having it, and like walked away. So we kind of really don't know their relationship, like where it stands right now. Right. There's a lot of gray area.
Well, and like you said, it's kind of, I mean, just in the last episode, I mean, we saw her at the party and, talking to dude, the football player guy.
Kunta or something like that.
Kunta? Oh, yeah.
So she's obviously, well, I can't say obvious because like her and Simone kind of had a little personal moment where she was just like, oh, I'm still worried about you and Dave. And she's like, I'm not worried about it. I'm not thinking about it, type thing. So I don't know maybe how much David was still hanging on to it, and maybe how much this girl is kind of like, well, we see kind of at the end when she comes into the church and he's smiling.
But come on, Kunta gave her mac and cheese in a cup. Like,
At least he fed her. Come on.
That was made from the roux, and like she almost melted into the floor. She was like, what? Like type thing. So, and I'm not even like a cook. I was like, maybe you could be like, like, you do it like that. That's somebody who knows, type thing. So, no, it's going to be interesting because the smile or the look that Crystal had at the end when she she turned around, she saw the girl, and I think at first it was kind of like a what? Like who's this? But then she kind of had this like coy little smile, like, okay, like, you know, like maybe that's what he needs, or like, good for you.
Yeah,
you know,
I think it's more
thing.
so good for you, because they're both moving on, and like we saw last episode, she was with what's his name, Kunta? Yeah, so now he's with this no name. We don't even know her name. No names were given. Why?
Elaine?
No. Oh, her name was Elaine. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Elaine from Seinfeld.
Oh, I don't even watch Seinfeld. That's why.
Right. Me neither. She's talking to all of us.
So that's that, like you said, that'll definitely be one to. I'm gonna say I'm interested to see with
I hope
David.
she like comes back.
And you know I think for sure it's they're gonna bring her back somehow. And who knows? Maybe there might be a little something maybe with Crystal down the way. Maybe there's something like a past or something, you know.
Right.
Don't do him wrong time, because maybe she still has feelings for
you
know.
But Crystal to me seems like she's like ready to move on, because they both are talking to other people.
But she could still be one of those ones where she still cares for him.
That's true.
You know,
Right.
even though it's not like I'm in love with you, but it's like, hey, I still, you know.
And she said that was the first thing she did after she graduated, got married.
Yeah.
So I feel like there still are feelings there, but maybe she's trying to be that woman, like, move on without me. I want to see you happy even if it's not with me, type thing.
Right. No, definitely. So it'll be, it's going to be good to see how that progresses.
Yeah, you know? I'm looking forward.
You know.
No, likewise.
Yeah, for sure. So the other thing that, the other thing that was interesting that I wanted to touch on was when he was giving his sermon, and you noticed like everybody, like the whole crew is like in the church, you know? So it's like, man, they were all out the night before, but they all ended up making it, you know, to church. And it was just interesting seeing as he was preaching, you could see some of it was, you know, resonating with some of them, maybe for, you know, for whatever reason. But it was just that throughout all the little bickerings or pettiness that they go through, to see like that they still always like come back together.
Yeah, they're very supportive of each other. I've noticed that.
Even Ari, even though he did whatever he did, he clearly had the same outfit that he wore last night. I noticed that. He had on the same outfit, but he still made it up at 7 a.m. in the morning.
Right.
At 7 a.m.
And then, like you said, I was wondering if it was, like you said, if he went off with old girl that he had, if he was still like, hey, I gotta go, or if someone was like, all right, like, you know, because like you said, I'm sure he was not with the rest of the group, you know, doing anything. So that shows a little bit of commitment, even on his wild side,
I agree.
to still be like I'm gonna be there.
That's so good, and all of them were like into it, and you know, just responding to his sermon. I thought it was great.
Right. And it was I also noticed that in terms of just the way some of their reactions to the sermon, like while they were sitting there, you know, like Simone and Bryson, you know, were really taking it in. But the one that really kind of caught me was Crystal, in terms of like she was like really feeling it, like, yeah, like you go, boy, like, you know, like you preach, you know, type thing. Like I felt like was really feeling it of everyone in the group, you know.
No, she was definitely locked in. What I noticed about Simone kept taking a couple glances at Bryson. Bryson's eyes didn't crack until the end when the sermon was over, but Simone, she wasn't 100% present in church.
Yes,
I could tell she
agree.
wasn't.
I agree.
Bryson had a little effect on her, you know. Maybe it was like, man, she's
thinking about that
right,
kid,
you know. And he's just like, yeah, that's how I do.
Right. Arm up and everything. Oh, this is good.
With his fancy coat on and everything, I was like, oh,
he feels like the man.
Man, he probably, you know, because like
got his girl.
I was gonna say how, you know, he's been wanting to do that for like the longest.
For real, dreaming about her.
Like I said, I'm Team Bryson, and I know what it feels like to persevere, especially on your crush, when you finally get the chance to just, like you said, take it from platonic to maybe something romantic. That's an award.
That's an accomplishment.
And I was actually glad that he actually took it. You know, that he made that step. That it wasn't like, man, she's giving you the signals, and he's like, oh no, like, you know, he was just like, I'm going in, I'm gonna shoot my shot.
No, but she gave him opportunity when she turned around on him.
That's what I'm saying. I was glad he, you know, unlike
he followed up. He had to be aggressive in that moment.
He did.
He had to be aggressive, or she would have just hit up, you know.
Right. I love how we're breaking down that game plan. Like, he had to move in and, you know.
He had to follow up.
Right.
Yeah, that was a problem.
He drove to the basket and had to finish it.
But my question is like, you know, in the beginning of the episode, he was like, oh, I can help you, Simone. And she was like, no, like, I got it, Bryson, or whatever. Do you think he kind of already knew who the DJ was, like the Dominican guy with the speakers? Yeah, because like
they did, because they really didn't.
Yeah.
Show the way that they kind of cut it. It was just kind of like the lady was like, "Oh, my husband could," but you kind of felt like Bryson had something up his sleeve because the way she left.
Because Tia was standing right by him, so I was like, "Oh, maybe they already kind of had like the hookup with that."
I was kind of thinking that too because, like you said, the way that she stormed off, she's like, "I don't need your help," like this and this, and he started doing stuff like on his phone, and I was thinking like, "Oh, Bryson's about to hook it up somehow."
Yeah.
But I don't know.
I'm not sure. I don't think so. And the reason why I don't think so is because the way he responded to her at the end, he was just kind of like, Simone, you got the job done by yourself. It could have been, manipulative, but it also could have been like, you handled this, because him being in the friend zone so long, he wants to save her every opportunity to get out that friend zone. And this opportunity, she just had to take advantage of it herself. So I don't think so.
Well, she kind of walked away from him, so she didn't even give him she didn't even give him a choice to answer her. So she just kind of did her own thing, kind of what she always does.
Right.
Yeah.
No, it was, and I'm kind of with you, Chef, in terms of, I kind of do think he was just like, hey, you did this, like maybe he was in saving mode, like, man, what can I do?
Yeah.
And she just ended up finding it, or getting it done.
But maybe
herself,
Tia knew him, because she was like right up there, and when she turned around, she was already there, like standing by his truck or something. So
yeah, you know what? I kind of feel like maybe there was either like a little time lapse or something, like 'cause she could have gone to the guy, hey, can you play this? And then like, Tia, we about to get it, and have her standing there like in performance. In performance. That's what I'm saying. They kind of were just like, we'll just skip to her starting the performance.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, no, like you said, bottom line, I still I love the way that, Simone just got her little like hustle in her, like, I'm gonna get this done. And sometimes just that, I mean, the comedy part of the show, especially between the characters. I mean, when she was trying to play it in her car, and everybody coming up like, "What you doing?" Like Bryson, Rocky comes up like, "This is your plan," and even Tia was like, "It's not even that serious. Like we can, and she's like, "I will not accept defeat." Like who talks like that?
And even Selena had a little joke too. She was like, "I heard you trying to whisper out your car." I'm like, okay, everybody has jokes.
Your robot car.
Yeah, she said your little robot car. I was like, what? But yeah, no, it was like you said, the kind of the camaraderie between, even in those moments, they can still be just like what. And I love just Tia's kind of free flowing, just spirit, just like I said, whether it's.
But my whole thing about the whole party was like they were all soliciting. Like, why y'all left the club? I'm pretty sure they would like kick you guys out of the parking lot. I've never seen that ever. Like, I was like, what? This party is going on way too long.
Oh no, I've been a part of a bunch of let outs, and that's very accurate. Like after the club, this is the prime time to where you're trying to see if you can get someone's number, or if a girl can potentially give out her number, because inside the club you can't really have much conversations.
Yeah, you can't talk, it's too loud.
You can't really talk. So in the club, before you get in the car, that's when people are like prancing. And
but they only give you like a lot of time to do that. They
did have a lot of time in that parking lot.
Yeah, so I was about to be like, dang, like it was like 30 minutes. But like I've been in some let-outs, they're like, all right, 10 minutes and y'all gotta go. Right. So it's just like, that's what.
Well, I've even seen some like you said, where there's the proverbial fight will break out, and like the club people will be like, hey, as long as it's not on the property, like you could go in the street, you could go across the street, and people just like the crowd will move and be like, oh, okay, it's about to go down. I just remember
that from college, because like college clubs, they're more like allow you to do that, like those let out types of vibes. But like nowadays, no, they're like, get in your Lyft, go home. You can't stand out here. Yeah, so that's why I was just saying, just the difference of like grown clubs versus like college clubs.
No, that's what I was referring to. The college clubs. Recently, no. It's time to go.
Yeah, it's time to go. Get in your Lyft, get in your taxi, have someone pick you up.
Right. And I love the like you said, the whole vibe of the how she got the music going, got it to go. So now that kind of starts thinking like, hey, maybe Tia's about to start getting some traction, because there's been a couple. I mean, Simone's really been on that hustle, like, hey, I'm trying to get her out there, and I'm feeling like one of these things, or episodes, like they're gonna get their break. Either someone's gonna see her, or someone's approach, because she's doing a lot, she's on her hustle, and Tia's fun, and they had like the little dances going on. Everybody's doing their thing.
And Tia does a great job at engaging with people. This one, I wasn't necessarily sure how they were going to respond to her song. I'm going to be honest. I'm like, either they're going to think it's whack or they're going to mess with it. But everyone was very engaged with the song, you know what I mean?
Yeah, vibing.
No, she, like you said, she definitely just has that, just that personality. I think that Simone has saw in her when she first saw her in the club in in episode 1. That's just like, a little magnetic or different. And like you said, the way that she vibes with everybody else going out dancing, she's not like standoffish or whatever, but she's got her own little thing going on. She's kind of not like everybody else. She's just got like a little different flair to her. So. I want to see where that's going to go as well.
Definitely.
Or where they take that.
Maybe should be in the recording booth making more songs.
Right.
I'm just saying. I feel like maybe one of these episodes they'll may have like a special guest, like maybe like Migos or someone will come and be like, "Hey, she's hot. Bring her on tour with the," and they'll be like, "What? That's it." And then I'm getting into almost predictions right now.
Right, because you got to think Simone wants to create a lane of her own. So that's why she's going so hard with Tia. Right. But Tia's just unapologetically herself. So I'm interested to see what happens next with her, too.
You know what else we're unapologetic about is what we have when we talk to you AfterBuzzers out there about things we got going on here at the company. How you like that transition right there?
Oh, great. So we just want to say thank you for making us the ESPN of TV Talk. For us to continue to grow, we could use your help. So make sure to subscribe on YouTube. Give us a rating on iTunes and leave us a comment. I love being a part of AfterBuzz. I love sharing my opinions, my thoughts with my lovely panel. You guys are the best, and so thank you for all your support, and make sure to subscribe and watch live shows.
There we have it. You guys listen, give us 5 stars if you're listening out there on the podcast or on iTunes. Give us 5 stars on iTunes, and so we can get this thing rated highly.
Yes,
and
5 stars.
People need to know about the goodness that we're talking about.
Thumbs up all the way.
Absolutely.
Exactly. So I kind of want to go back to something earlier, kind of getting back to David, and just kind of in the way that he, just I guess his personality. Like, is he? We see obviously he's passionate about being a pastor, his church. But in terms of with like you said, with the way he relates to the crew, like, is he like too much? Or is it, do you respect? Sticking to your guns, or are you just like, man, maybe he could loosen up a little bit? I mean, like I said, going back to even in your own lives, like if you have that friend or someone where you were just like, hey, man, like,
I wouldn't necessarily say that he's too much. I think he's just very firm in who he is. And we still don't know which route he took after the divorce. So this could just be a part of his character traits. But I think he's just being very consistent, and he needs to figure out what environments he wants to be in. So if the club isn't his scene, then it's like, why go to mess up our flow? Because what we do once we go to the club.
Right.
Okay.
Right. And that was actually interesting because, like you said, in the in that parking lot scene with Bryson, he was like, he's like, I told you not to invite me to. Right. But I was like, one of those things, like, if like you said before, like, if you know what you're getting into, like, why don't you just be like, nah, I'm gonna stay home, like, that's not me.
He was like feeling a little uncomfortable. Like, I got him. He was just making uncomfortable and awkward. It was just like his interactions with people, like what you said. He should just like maybe.
And I feel like, is he, even though he's, like I said, he is very firm in terms of who he is and what he believes, like, maybe does he have that one foot though in the carnal world, I don't know, like, because the fact that he showed up there, I mean, if he was like really into it, he would have been like, no, I'm gonna just stay home, that's not me. But he went, so. But
metaphorically, I don't know, this could just be me just thinking outside the box. His church name is New Horizons.
Oh, yeah.
So maybe this is something that he's stepping into. Like, I don't even know if he was into that during the marriage, but maybe this is something him trying to take a step, not, I guess, away from the church realm, but more so interact more with his friends in that environment. I'm not sure, but New Horizons, I thought that was clever.
He said, I'm going to the club to preach, I'm going to where they need,
And he also preached about, like, it's okay to not be perfect. Yeah. That was very telling, too.
Yeah.
Right. And like you said, I like that he was just kind of being real in terms of like you said, he's like, I'm not perfect. I haven't done everything right.
Right.
You know, and like you said, maybe he's like, I could flash back to last night. You know,
Right.
I mean, not that I did anything way out, but maybe it was something he's like, I shouldn't have even been there. But you know, he's just like, hey, I'm gonna keep on, you know, keep things moving and do what I need to do. So, yeah, I don't know. Like he's I'm kind of like you, Chef. I feel like maybe in terms of when he was with Crystal, I don't know if he was at this point in terms of like pastor status. Maybe it was something like maybe he got the calling while they, you know, like, hey, I feel like I'm, you know, led to, you know, pastor a church, and maybe she was like, what, you know, type thing, and maybe that was.
Yeah,
you
they
know,
really
a strain,
didn't talk
like,
about it, so we really don't know how he started.
Right, and like you said, especially at the age that they were at, maybe it was like, what are you talking about, you know, type thing, and maybe that caused, like you said, a strain on the relationship at that time, and you know, maybe Crystal was just like, I'm not, you know, I go to church, but I don't know if I want to be maybe like a pastor's wife or something like that, you know, type thing. So, but like you said, I hope they can maybe open up into a little more of the history. In terms of what happened.
Yeah, we really don't know much except that they got a divorce. They were married before. Really, there's a lot of gray areas. No one's really telling anything.
I feel like the writers, they'll have it come out like at some point. Maybe there will be either like a blow up moment or like a really intense dramatic, you know, and it'll be like, this is why we had to get divorced, you know, and you're like, oh, here we go.
Or maybe one episode just focus on their marriage at one point. So it'll be like a past episode and showing like before they got a divorce, basically, and like what led up to it.
Right, what happened in the past, because we're at the point where they're both interested in, I don't want to say dating other people, but they at least have their eyes onto other people.
Right.
So yeah, with the storyline, they have to tell us what happened. They gotta tell us.
And I'm like, we already at episode 5, so you guys gotta hurry up and speed it up. Especially if they follow the format of maybe, who knows, next week, like it might be Ari's episode, and we don't even see David and them for a little bit. So. Or, you know, I don't know. I'll be interested. Yeah, I definitely want to know some more about that. Because that's the one relationship, I think, in the crew where you're kind of like I just don't know. Like, like, I need more info. The rest of them, you're kind of like, you know, Bryson and Simone, you're kind of like, okay, they got a little, like, sexual tension or they like each other type thing. You know, Ari, we just don't know. Like, I haven't seen enough yet. I mean, I've seen some stuff, but I'm just like, yeah, this dude's just... He's just out there doing his thing. So, you know, I kind of know. I feel like I know his story. But those two, Crystal and David, those are the two that you're just kind of like...
Because they both seem like pretty solid people.
Right.
That's the thing. It's not like either one of them have verbalized any vices. They both seem pretty solid. So I'm curious to know what happened during their falling out.
Yeah, that would definitely... I'm with you on that. I'm definitely with you on that. Wow. Yeah, so that was a lot going on.
A lot to unpack.
Yeah. And like you said, just continues to kind of move things forward. Like I said, we did have another Rocky sighting tonight, you know, and just always the little combativeness between her and Simone.
Oh
they
my
always...
God, I was just gonna say that because they're always like kind of like siblings. Like, you know how siblings like bicker like that? Maybe just because she's close to Tia, so like they're just sharing one person.
Well, and like I said, like last episode, you definitely saw that, and then at the end, you kind of saw him kind of come to like, hey, she's got my back when she goes and socks dude out who was touching her cousin. So I kind of feel like they just have that back and forth. But when it comes down to things, I think they'll come together. But before anything up until that, it's kind of like we gonna be petty about things.
Right.
Rocky is very transparent. That's her role to me in this show, like very black and white. Everyone else has a lot of gray, but if Rocky doesn't like something, I don't like it. Why didn't they play my girlfriend's song? This dude's doing too much talking, I'm gonna punch him. Like Rocky is very straightforward.
I like that.
Right.
No, for real.
And she's the part, and I think she that little triangle that they have with Simone, Tia, and Rocky, it's very, I love the way they all play off each other. Because like you said, like Tia's always the, you know, almost like the referee, always like, come on, guys, like I love you both, you know. And Simone and Rocky are always going at it, but they all, like I said, kind of harmonize it and make it work.
Yeah, they definitely balance each other. I think Rocky balances Tia because Tia's so like free spirited. Okay, if it makes sense, cool, I'll do it. Rocky's like, okay, what's the plan? And even when it comes to Simone, I want to do this with your girlfriend as far as like marketing. So you want to make her this? She doesn't like the gray. That's why Rocky is very necessary.
She wants to know everything.
Right. Right. No, like you said, it's got to be drawn out hard. Like there's no, like you
Play
said.
out steps. Let's go from 1 to like 10.
There you go.
Yep.
There you go. Now, one thing that I actually want to move into is our special segment.
Okay.
Our special segment that we have. If you guys remember, last week, Portia started a segment called Speak On It, where we each person picks a truth that they saw during the episode, that whether it could have been a moment, it could have been a line, maybe a look that kind of came across that maybe spoke to them, So we can start with the lady of the group, Missy.
So definitely a speak on moment for me. It was very obvious. It was just like David's sermon, because I definitely spoke to it. I was like, oh, am I at church right now? This is lit. This is so good. But I felt like the whole sermon itself kind of like put a tight little bow on the whole episode, because if you just watch the episode, it kind of like paraphrased of what he was saying in church. So like how Bryson and Simone had that whole conversation about like, oh, I can help you. She's like, I don't need you to save me. So just like little like words they use, and then he used in church. So he was like, oh, be resilient. And Simone was resilient because she like didn't want to be defeated. She's like, I need to do this for my friend. I like want her song to be played. I'm gonna go out of my way to do something for her. So it was just like a lot of things I saw kind of reminded me of what his sermon was like in church. So I thought that was very cool.
That was your speak on it moment.
Yep, speak on it.
That was good. I didn't even pay it. Like I didn't notice that. Like as far as the certain words with the certain characters, that's very good. My speak on it moment was when Elaine was sitting waiting for her lift, and David approached her, because I know a lot of Elaines as far as like if a guy isn't the external or the exterior aspect of it, they're quick to just, go the opposite way. But he showed her that though you made up a fake friends calling or the Batman signal to where, like, I'm still going to be a gentleman. I'm still going to be chivalrous. Why are you sitting here by yourself? And I'm not sure if he spotted her lying about earlier, but he still made sure he put his jacket on her legs. He still opened the door for her and everything.
Right.
Made sure he gave her some good stuff. So that was very telling for me as far as like, don't judge a book by its cover. Even though I might not be your ideal type, I can be exactly what you're looking for.
He's very respectful.
Wow, that's going to be my speak on it moment right there with Chef said.
Don't steal his, get your own.
Right, I know, man. The way he said it, I'll be like, I may not be. I'm gonna have to rewind the tape and be like I'm listening to it like a sermon. Like, man, let me write that down.
I told you.
So my speak on it moment was when Bryson and Simone had their little. She was trying to get the song played, and you could tell she was a little frazzled. And Bryson came up, was like, "Hey, I got him before he can even get it out." She was like, "Bryson, I don't need you to save me," and I just thought that was so telling, because just in terms of where her frame of mind, was, and in terms of maybe seeing how she was viewing him, and. In his mind, he may have been trying to come in and save the day, but he did, you saw his reaction where it definitely kind of caught him off. I was like, what are you talking about? Even me sitting down, I was like, why is she acting all like that?
Yeah.
And she just said, I don't need any saving, and walks off, and you can just see how just super uber independent she is, and how bad she wants to be able to just, I want to do this myself, and I thought it was a little moment for Bryson maybe to, like I said, because it maybe caught him off guard, maybe made him think a little bit like, okay, maybe she can handle stuff or whatever. I guess she wasn't even giving him a chance to respond because she was already gone off figuring out the next move. But it was just that moment for her. Of all the things she could say, she says, I don't need any saving, So maybe because of how she's grown up, maybe there's always people who've, hey, we'll get you out of this, or don't worry, we'll handle this for you. And she's maybe never had to obviously handle things by herself, or maybe get herself out of jam, or maybe she always had that help. Like in the beginning, Bryson, I think in the first episode, he said not all of us were born with the silver spoon,
right?
So maybe that was something where she's,
just trying to get away from.
Yeah, in the past there was always maybe someone there to help, or she had an advantage that maybe someone else didn't, and now she's like, look, I don't want to go that route. I don't want to use that, even though it could be there, as the safety net, or maybe her parents could help, but she refuses to use that, and for that to bubble up out of her, like, I don't need any saving. maybe is even a transformation for her. Like, I mean, we always know she's been independent, but maybe that's the real step out moment. Like,
well,
accepting it.
Yeah.
She spoke on that throughout the whole show so far.
Yeah.
When her cousin or her daughter got arrested, no, I don't need the money sent to my parents or anything. What Bryson said with the silver spoon.
Right.
I think this was her finally exploding. Like, okay, I need to take care of this by myself. You know, even though Tia was like, hey, we can just play at a different spot, she wanted to problem solve in that moment.
right.
Yeah.
Right.
And she wanted to handle it herself, basically.
And it was interesting, and now, and the fact that you say that, Chef, even I think back to like the last episode when they went to go get her cousin, like she still needed the help of the other girls. You know, people were like, hey, I got 1,000, or I could put, you know, it wasn't like Simone was like, I got it.
Yeah.
Let's go bail her out. She was still looking for help, even from them. You know, so this was a situation where, like you said, she really was like, I'm taking ownership of this whole thing. I'm gonna find my own way out, and I don't need like a single soul. Even though I guess kind of the Spanish lady did help her out there with that.
She did.
So let me ask y'all this: Do you think the reaction from Bryson after she said that was the same energy that she felt when Bryson told her in the studio, like, basically, like, I got stuff to do? Do you think that was the same spark? Because she had the spark at the end of that episode, and after she told Bryson that, though his facial expression wasn't like this, I'm into that.
Yeah.
It might have been like, okay, she has her big girl pants on,
Right.
and then she actually executed.
Yeah.
So that could have gave Bryson that extra energy. It's like, okay, I just gotta go in for it at this point.
Yeah.
No,
I mean, he was always like hers too, so that's why he went in.
That's
too.
a good point. Yeah, like you said,
He was waiting for the moment. I think so.
she's like on a real and more physical
Yeah, 'cause
point
they was
when she
dancing to
turned around.
music.
That's the universal symbol, right? I guess, you know, if a girl turns around, like, you know, like
Yes,
you're
you want to get a good look at the face.
you're-
I guess.
you're letting him know, like, if you don't pick up on this signal right here.
Or maybe if she turned around and walked away, then that would have been like, oh, she don't like him, but she didn't do that. So
No, she stayed right there.
she stayed
Shot
right
is-
there.
shot is shot.
You know what that was? Now that we're on the last scene, when people start running, we didn't know why they were running. First of all,
I'm glad you brought that up
because I'm
because.
like, is there a fight? Usually people run when there's
Well, no,
fights,
it was
or-
funny because you always hear, like, especially around black folks, they'd be like,
Yeah.
man, you start running, we
Right.
all just
Everyone's
run.
gonna
And I'm
run,
everyone's
right.
running.
But Bryson
so-
was like, why we running? You know, and I was like,
Yeah.
oh, Bryson, you about to get caught up, whatever it is, you
He
know?
didn't, he didn't want the moment to stop. I'm not sure if I
Right.
heard police sirens, but that was very true. Like, whenever one black person,
Yeah,
everybody
you
else
just
is just
start
going
running.
Cutting out, and it kind of slid in because, like you said, there was like cars going, and
Yeah.
it literally was because of the caption at the bottom where I caught it, and then I was like, oh, he did say that. You know, he was like, wait, why are we running though? You know, because he was probably thinking of all times like
But
for this
my
stuff to go
thing
down.
was, it was just like Simone didn't even make sure her friends were okay. She just got in her car and left. So
That's
I
the
was
way
like,
it is,
wait,
you know?
that's kind of like,
But Bryson still snuck in that kiss on the forehead. He's like, I don't know what's going on, but hey.
One last one.
open her
before-
car door. It was enough time for that.
Man, that's what I'm talking about. Real, that's my dude right there. Way to go, Bryson. I don't even know if that was in the script, but he was like, I'm going to get this one real quick and get that. Oh, man.
That's why she was singing about him in church.
Oh, man. Like he did
Uh-huh.
he did sneak that last one in.
Like, I'm
on
trying to
me,
see
you
another
know?
forehead kiss again or something.
Man. Like you said, he was kind of feeling himself too. Like you said, sitting
Yeah.
on the thing, just like, yeah, even though I'm taking in the message, but
What's funny, I don't think he even like washed his face because it looked like he still had some lipstick on him. I don't know if I'm the only one who noticed that. He probably was like, I gotta let this marinate.
Were they like super red?
I believe
Or
I
like
saw
leftover residue?
Yes, I think so.
my
I maybe have to
goodness.
rewatch it, but I was looking like, did he wash his face?
See, this is
Probably
the kind of
not.
like analytics that go on the show. Like I'm gonna have to go back now and be like, yeah, let me fast forward to that part and like maybe do a zoom in or a
Yeah.
pause, you know, on there. And
That would be wild.
that's funny.
If they snuck that in there, right?
yeah.
I was gonna say they'll be like, man, Chef is a good fan. Like he knows. Like no, you couldn't get it past me. I saw it. Definitely.
Yeah.
Oh, so we got our speak on it moments. Sorry guys, we didn't have the. I was thinking about the chat today, you know, but
Yeah.
you know, Portia's usually our chat person, so I know you guys probably have some things you wanted to ring in there or you know chime in with, but it's all good. We'll you know.
I saw a couple
appreciate
of
you out
things
there.
on Twitter today, though.
Oh,
Okay.
you did?
Yes. I saw a
Okay.
couple of things on Twitter. A lot of people were basically thanking Halle Berry for portraying David's character to be this firm Christian dude in the battles that strong Christian dudes face. That's what a lot of people were commenting on, because that is a real battle. Like, people who are super into religion but also have friends who might not be as into it. So it's like, do I have to cut all of my peers off? Especially if you like grew up in church. It's like, this is all I've known my whole life. But I kind of do like hanging out with these people. So do I have to pick a side? Right. That's what a lot of people were talking about on Twitter today.
Oh, and I can definitely relate
That's a really good angle.
I can definitely relate, because I'm definitely, my family, we were definitely raised in the church, and like you said, you always knew, you were like, man, there's kind of like a line that, you know, you can go up to, but you'd be like, certain things, you know, you can't do. And it was always, especially when I was younger, there was just certain, you know, thing, whether it was like drinking or something, you know, you're like, oh, like, how do I tell my friend? You know, everybody's doing it at the party, and you're like, I'm good, you know. And I guess I was blessed with like pretty good friends who weren't really like in the church, who were just like, oh, okay, like I never really experienced any like peer pressure or like, come on, man, you know. It was just like, oh, okay, I guess maybe because I always try to play it off because I played sports, like, oh man, like I'm good, like, you know,
Right.
we got the game, right?
Got practice.
You know, so they were like, oh, okay, yeah, no,
early
it's good.
practice.
So, and then as I got older, it was just more of, you know, and I got to college, and it was just more of, you know, where it's like free-flowing alcohol everywhere.
It's part of the culture.
Yeah, and you're just kind of like, oh, no, I'm good. And, you know, people were like, oh, okay, man, like, that's not you. That's okay, cool.
But that's funny, because that reminded me of one of the funnier comments made by David in this episode when she was like, sober? He's like, saved.
Right.
I don't know why that made me laugh so much. Like, he was going pretty hard this episode.
I told
everything.
you, it was a little aggressive.
He was, you know, thinking about that, he was like, very aggressive.
And that was what I was talking about, like, you know, where it could have been like you said, when she said sober, he could have just been like, yeah, like, that's not, you know.
That's not me.
And then you took it to the next one.
What about David like the Bible?
Right.
David
that was unnecessary.
Right. He did
the
go
only
hard.
comment that was necessary was like when she was like, oh, like, put the address in, maybe I'll come. He's like, look, I got. That was like cute. I like that.
Right. Yeah, the stuff like the
But
David
the
and the
other
Bible.
ones were just like, what?
He was aggressive the whole episode.
And it was funny because the whole, like you said, their faces was just like,
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
like
after the first time, so Elaine even tried to, like, you know, smooth it out, but he kept going.
Yeah,
Right.
he was going a little too hard.
Well, it's funny because also you kind of wonder, like, sometimes, I don't know, like, from a girl's perspective, like, you know, like, oh man, he seems like the good, you know, like the church fearing guy, like that's the one you kind of guy that, you know, or at least maybe like your parents or someone would be like, hey, he's a good dude, and then maybe you think that, and then you see it in action, and maybe you're like, is that really what I want? You know, like,
Right.
I mean, I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just saying, like, maybe, you know, based on their facial expressions when he said what he was saying, it was kind of like, oh, like, I'm going to be nice, but no thanks.
Well, maybe as a prediction, that's probably why Crystal went for him, but she realized that's not what she actually wanted, so she retreated.
Oh, that could be one.
And that will lead us right into our predictions. Well done, Chef.
AfterBuzz
Okay,
TV
Chef.
predictions.
So let's start with Missy. What's your prediction?
All right,
going forward?
predictions. Definitely think something's gonna cook up between Bryson and Simone after that kiss. She was thinking about it all day in church. So I'm like wanting to see more of like what their friends think of their relationship too, because I know Tia's gonna say something, Ari's gonna say, everyone's gonna chime in, trying to figure out like, are you really gonna do this, bro? Like, I'm like very curious of seeing that.
I think as far as predictions with David, I think he's going to start liking or pursuing Elaine in some type of like realm, and Crystal's going to start dating people too. I think their character development and whatever falling out they had with their marriage is going to start to develop.
Oh yeah,
I like that.
Or people question it too.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm thinking in terms of the Simone Bryson storyline. At some point, like you said, I think Tia's gonna blow up, and I think Simone's profile is gonna raise. And will it go above, like Bryson, where maybe it becomes an issue? Maybe she's like, "Hey, we're busy, we're doing stuff," and he's like, "Oh, okay, so you can't hang out with me anymore. You know, we can't talk."
Right.
No
Or
more
maybe,
game nights.
yeah,
No,
maybe she meets people, you know, where he's like, I
Networking.
can't compete with that. So we'll see where that goes. Well, anyway, guys, thank you so much for joining us. We had a great time, great conversation. Thank you, Chef, for
Thank
coming
you so
through as our
much.
guest co-host, stepping in. Thank you guys again for listening in or watching us via the internet. So let them know real quick, where can they check you out
Hey
online?
guys, you can follow me at Missy Bernier on Instagram.
And you can find me at chef_beans with the Z.
And you can find me on Twitter and Instagram at TanirW. So again, you guys have a blessed week, and we will see you again next week. Same bat time, same bat channel. Take care.
Our founder, Keven Undergaro, and me, Maria Menounos, would like to thank you for tuning in to AfterBuzz TV. Remember, we're not just the first, we're the biggest in the world, and we're the only destination for all your favorite TV shows. Whatever you crave, we've got it. So go to AfterBuzzTV.com and check out our lineup. Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.